See, that's the thing, right? This is the whole shit, right? This how it goes.
Insurance.
No, this how it go, murder, for me. For me, period. I don't be breaking up on bad terms. I don't want to hate nobody. But the problem is, the problem is this. I don't know if you or Murder seen the last talk with Flea. And one of my ex joints was up there. I don't even consider.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't even consider her ex. Like,
she did a phenomenal job.
Thank you, Murder. You know, that means a lot coming from you, because I know you do consultation and therapy and all that. So I appreciate you seeing me, mature and handle it the best way I can handle.
Proud. I was actually really proud.
Thank you, brother.
Cameron, I was really proud.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I don't end none of my relationships on a bad note. It's just that, you know what it is, Stack? I don't know if I said it on this show, if I said it to somebody else, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I'll tell you even if you don't know. Girls don't leave me. I leave them. Serious. I'm not saying a girl can't leave me. I'm not saying that I'm all that or anything like that.
What's the racket, Killer? What's the racket? Yeah.
Last time a girl left me.
I'm leaving.
No, last time a girl left me in second grade, I put gum in her hair. Girl ain't leave me since. I don't know how many girls between now and third grade, but however many between then. Like, girl ain't leave me since second grade. I'm fun. I'm cool. You hang out with us, my niggas is fun. We hang out like it's hard to leave, man. Listen, I had a friend of mine in my house this week. He brought a girl over. She ain't want to leave. I'm just telling you, like, we mad fun, and then sometimes it doesn't work out, and it doesn't work out for me. And then when I stop calling, I try and do it politely. I weed my way away. It's hard, and I'm not being disrespectful to anybody that I used to deal with. I'm just saying that for me, I don't mind doing none of my exes. They don't like me. They don't hate it. They don't like me. I remember one of my girlfriends told me I broke up with her. She's like, yeah, you don't got no friends. Like, when I be beefing publicly with people I used to do business with, that's why you ain't got no friends. I got money.
All my friends is dead.
All my friends are dead.
And I start beefing with niggas and Dips at me and Mace not speaking. That's why you ain't got no friends. I got money. My friends is dead. So to answer that, I don't have a problem doing anything with anybody. They just be having an attitude with me, and I don't have a problem with anybody. I'm cool with everybody, So I don't know. Like, I don't know what the price point would be for them or whatever, but I can see them walking on set talking about, I'd be like, hey, what's up? They be like, Cameron. They think Suge hate when my people call me Cameron. Suge hate that shit. Suge be like, yo, why the fuck they think they can call you Cameron?
Never got. Why? Like, you don't know this nigga.
No, can I say something about that though? You know what's funny? And so many people do this, especially women. Like in the world, like, people might call you Killer, Cam, whatever.
He started off with Killer.
That's what I'm saying, though.
He met him as Killer.
But that's what I'm saying. As soon as, like, there's an exchange, I promise you, like, someone be like, oh yeah, like, Killer's my favorite rapper. You mean Cameron?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Cameron?
No,
like,
they argue with him and they go,
government.
Cameron, stop playing with me. Cameron, you hungry? What the fuck? I can hear that shit like, yo, you don't know this nigga. Yo, his name is Killer. Shit made me mad now. Like, his name is fucking Killer.
Yeah. And so, but to answer your question, I'm not opposed. I don't have any problems with it. I would prefer to be friends. I get jealous when I see niggas be cool with their ex-girlfriend. I'll be like, how'd that turn out for y'all niggas to be cool? I want to be cool with everybody. I ain't got no problem with nobody.
Stephon Diggs, like you say.
Yeah.
You say, how you do that?
Maybe I do a case study on Stephon Diggs, man. Word.
That's hilarious. So you're not
I
opposed
mean,
to it. Got it.
most times the child support is high. If the child support is high, they're probably still good friends. You don't have child support. That's why you don't have that.
Mace, prior to you being married, was there any females mad at you when you stopped dealing with them, or you was like before you was married? Was you all cool with everybody that you?
I never really dated like that, Killer. I told you to stop dating.
I mean, Mace, I don't know. I don't know what I can say and what I can't say.
He spun that. He moonwalked out of there.
I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna say, all right. I don't know what we call what we were doing then.
All the girls wanted you, man. Yeah. All the girls wanted you, man.
Sometimes people thought we were dating, but I didn't consider us dating. But she could have thought that. I can see how I gave her them vibe.
And that's what I'm talking about.
In my mind, I wasn't like that.
And that's what I'm talking about. I didn't want to be rude with certain females, but you know.
You walk into girl houses, your picture on the wall, man.
No, yeah, I'm just saying, no, I'm talking about like girls, like that's a great point. So like Maize said, a girl told me one time recently, like, yo, you know, when we was dealing with each other, I wasn't having sex with anybody else. I'm like, you wasn't? That's crazy. Because I was.
Did you say that, or did you internally think that?
No, I told her that. I told her that straight up. Because we don't mess with each other no more, but I told her straight up, I'm like, yeah, that's why. She's like, oh, you thought I did? I said, I didn't really put much thought into it because I didn't care. Like, you know, I told a girl recently because she started getting like, and this all former people. I don't know why everybody wants to come back and basically, you know, like have some type of therapy and tell me how they used to feel and this, that, and the third. And this girl was getting sassy with me about, Cam, you know this, that, and the third, this. And I really didn't want to say this to her. I promise you I did. But I had to tell her, like, yo, you were my fourth or fifth option. She was never my go-to. Like, I don't know where you come across asking me this, thought you could ask me questions, so on and so forth. And I don't want to be rude. Girls will be like, see, he's an asshole. He's a this and that. But I'm being honest. A lot of y'all are fourth or fifth options. Y'all just, nigga ain't gonna tell you that. You know what I'm saying?
Back in the closet, in the shorty pocket.
Yeah, nigga not gonna tell you that, man. You should be honest. That somebody's telling you this shit. Hey, man, I'm just telling you, man.
4 or 5.
It's the 4 it's the 4 or 5, yeah.
That late night drive.
Yeah, but Mace, that's a great point, man. You know, like you said, that's a really good point because, you know, I say this to people a lot, and that's kind of what you just said as far as interpreting when somebody might have been thought you was dating. Because sometimes that's one of my slogans when somebody's not uncomprehending when I'm saying it. I'm not just talking about male or female. What I say and what you understand is two different things. I can't help if you're not comprehending what I'm saying.
The situation you telling me about, Killer, she told me she's leaving. It was 1 o'clock. I told her good, because I got a 2 o'clock.
That's the nigga I grew up with.
Yeah. Whoa. That was crazy, right? Yeah, man.
Gotta go. It's 2 o'clock.
Hey, man, I dig it. I miss that nigga. Now we getting 30%. See, that's the thing, right? This is the whole shit, right? This is how it goes.
Insurance.
No, this is how it go, murder, for me, period. I don't be breaking up on bad terms. I don't want to hate nobody. But the problem is, the problem is this. I don't know if you or Murder seen the last talk with Flea. And one of my ex-joints was up there. I'm not saying that I'm all that or anything like that.
Yeah.
Last time a girl
I'm leaving.
No, last time a girl left me in 2nd grade, I put gum in her hair. Girl ain't leave me since.
Mm.
I don't know how many girls been between now and third grade, but however many between then. Like, girl ain't leave me since second grade. You know, I'm fun. I'm cool. You hang out with us, my niggas is fun. We hang out like it's hard to leave, man. Listen, I had a friend of mine in my house this week. He brought a girl over. She ain't want to leave. I'm just telling you, like, we mad fun, and then sometimes it doesn't work out, and it doesn't work out for me. And then when I stop calling, I try and do a polite doing anything with anybody. They just be having an attitude with me, and I don't have a problem with anybody. I'm cool with everybody, you know. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what the price point would be for them or whatever, but I could see them walking on set talking about, I'd be like, hey, what's up? They be like, Cameron. They think they all Shook hate when my people call me Cameron. Shook hate that shit. Shook hate me. Shook be like, yo, why the fuck they think they could call you Cameron?
Never got. Why? Like, you don't know this nigga. Man, now, like, his name is fucking Killer.
Yeah. And so, but to answer your question, I'm not opposed. I don't have any problems with it. I would prefer to be friends. I get jealous when I see niggas be cool with their ex-girlfriend. I be like, how'd that turn out for y'all niggas to be cool? I want to be cool with everybody. I ain't got no problem with nobody.
Stephon Diggs, like you say.
Yeah.
You say, how you do that?
We gotta do a case study on Stephon Diggs, man. Word.
That's hilarious. So you're not opposed
I mean,
to it.
most times the child support is high. If the child support is high, they're probably still good friends. You don't have child support. That's why you don't have that.
Maize, prior to you being married, emails, but you know,
you walk in a girl houses, your picture on the wall.
No, yeah, I'm just saying, no, I'm talking about like girl, like that's a great point. So like Maize said, a girl told me one time recently, like, yo, you know, when we was dealing with each other, I wasn't having sex with anybody else. I'm like, you wasn't? That's crazy. Because I was.
Did
you say that, or did you internally think that?
No, I told her that. I told her that straight up. Because we don't mess with each other no more, but I told her straight up, I'm like, yeah, that's why. She's like, oh, you thought I did? I said, I didn't really put much thought into it because I didn't care. Like, you know, I told a girl recently because she started getting like, and this all former people. I don't know why everybody wants to come back and basically, you know, like have some type of therapy and tell me how they used to feel and this, that, and the third. And this girl was getting sassy with me about, Cam, you know this, that, and the third, this. And I really didn't want to say this to her. I promise you I did. But I had to tell her like, yo, you were my fourth or fifth option. She were never my go-to. Like, I don't know where you come across asking me this.
You were never exactly my first choice. I honestly don't even know what made you think you could come to me with a question like that. I thought you knew better than to ask me. There's a point in almost every celebrity interview when the polished image cracks just enough for you to catch a glimpse of the person underneath. When the laughter fades, the rehearsed answers disappear, and suddenly you're watching how someone really thinks and moves through relationships. That exact moment happened recently during a podcast appearance featuring Cameron and Maize. And if you watch the episode, you probably know precisely the moment I mean. If you missed it, stay with me, because we're going to unpack how people behave differently around Cameron, why those differences actually matter, and what they reveal about the way famous people handle relationships, both when the cameras are watching and when nobody is supposed to be paying attention. So let's rewind and put the conversation into context. At first, everything feels completely normal, almost casual, exactly like the beginning of most celebrity conversations. Then someone brings up an old romance, a former relationship, and instead of dodging the subject or becoming visibly uncomfortable, Cameron goes directly into it. He starts explaining how he approaches breakups and what happens when relationships reach their final chapter. But the most revealing part is the philosophy behind his answer. Cameron doesn't describe himself as the person who gets abandoned. In his version of events, he's usually the one who chooses to walk away, and he takes some pride in trying to leave relationships without turning them into complete disasters. Now, at first glance, that can sound like standard celebrity confidence, right? It's exactly the sort of statement you might expect from someone who has spent years living under public scrutiny while constantly being questioned about his private life. But if you listen carefully, there's another layer underneath that answer. He isn't simply saying he wants control over the ending of a relationship. He's also talking about controlling the story that remains after the relationship is over. And that is a very different kind of social awareness, because it connects directly to the way people around him interact with him, which is really where this entire discussion becomes fascinating. Here's where things get interesting. Throughout the conversation, there are subtle examples showing that people seem to approach Cameron differently depending on how close they are to him. One discussion centers around nicknames, specifically the difference between people who call him by his actual name and those who use the nickname connected to his public identity. And that small distinction carries more weight than most viewers might realize. When somebody uses the more personal name, it can communicate familiarity, history, and a sense that they belong inside the circle rather than outside it. But when someone sticks to the public persona, it can create a sense of separation, and in certain situations, it can even feel like a deliberate slight, depending on who is saying it and what the relationship looks like. That may sound like a tiny detail, but it really isn't. Names are one of the simplest ways people communicate closeness, distance, respect, and even social position. So the fact that this distinction becomes part of the conversation tells you just how much these relationships can continue to matter long after the original moment has passed. Then the discussion moves toward former partners, and this is where the psychological side becomes much more compelling. Cameron explains that he would prefer to remain friendly with people he has previously dated. He makes it clear that he dislikes ending relationships with hostility, and even admits that he sometimes feels jealous when he watches other people successfully maintain friendships with their former partners. That is a surprisingly exposed statement coming from someone whose public image is so heavily associated with confidence, control, and certainty. It suggests that behind all the jokes and bravado, there's a genuine understanding that destroying every bridge comes with a social and emotional price, and that preserving some level of peace afterward is something he actually wants, even when reality doesn't always cooperate. But here comes the contradiction in his story, and honestly, this is the part worth paying attention to. He admits that wanting peace after a breakup doesn't guarantee that peace will actually happen. Some people who were once extremely close to him eventually walk away from the relationship disliking him, even though Cameron maintains that he personally didn't do anything wrong. And that situation is far more common than people realize. Two people can experience the exact same breakup and somehow leave with completely different versions of what happened and who caused the damage. One person may walk away believing they handled everything respectfully, while the other remembers feeling rejected, ignored, abandoned, or completely misunderstood. And the uncomfortable truth is that neither person necessarily has to be lying. That's simply what emotions, memory, and self-perception can do when people are hurt and trying to make sense of what happened. What makes this conversation bigger than just celebrity gossip is the fact that the situation reflects something almost everybody has experienced at some point. Think about your own life for a moment. Think about the people who still reach out every year on your birthday, compared with the people who disappeared completely the second the relationship ended. Think about those friend groups that suddenly fracture after a breakup because everyone feels pressured to choose one person over the other. That behavior isn't exclusive to famous people. It's something ordinary people deal with every day. The only real difference is that when a celebrity goes through it, the disagreement gets analyzed on a podcast in front of millions of listeners instead of being discussed privately over drinks with the one friend who actually knows the full story. Now we have to get into status and money, because that subject enters the conversation too. And honestly, this may be one of the most revealing pieces of the entire exchange. There's a point where financial success almost becomes a protective explanation, something that can be used to make sense of why friendships disappear or relationships eventually collapse. That reaction is fascinating because it exposes a problem that many highly successful people quietly struggle with. There can be a constant suspicion that some of the people around them aren't there purely because of genuine affection, but because of what access, money, influence, or opportunity might come with the relationship. Once someone reaches a certain level of fame and success, completely trusting another person's intentions can become incredibly difficult. You can start wondering whether someone values you as a person or simply values what being connected to you can provide. And even when that suspicion has some legitimate foundation, carrying it into every interaction can completely change the way you relate to people who may actually care about you. This is also a well-known psychological pattern that can appear among people living under intense public attention. Researchers examining fame, wealth, and interpersonal relationships have observed that highly visible and influential individuals can develop a protective form of skepticism toward the people around them. They begin looking beneath every interaction for another motive. A compliment can suddenly feel like it has an agenda. A request for money, attention, or access can trigger the question, would this person still be standing here if I had absolutely nothing? And that kind of thinking can become incredibly draining, which helps explain why some celebrities eventually choose to surround themselves with a tiny, carefully controlled inner circle instead of maintaining a huge network of casual connections. There's another revealing part of the conversation involving former partners who share children, because those relationships operate under very different circumstances from relationships without kids. The discussion points out that financial responsibilities, including things like child support, can force former partners to remain connected and maintain a certain level of civility even when the emotional relationship itself has completely disappeared. It's a somewhat cynical way of looking at relationships, but there is an uncomfortable truth inside it. Legal responsibilities and financial obligations can create a form of accountability that emotional promises by themselves often fail to provide. When there's an official reason that keeps two people connected, they usually have to find some way to coexist, because the other option is spending years fighting over an issue that isn't simply going to disappear. Now compare that with a relationship where there are no shared responsibilities. Once the emotional bond is gone, there may literally be nothing left forcing either person to stay connected, which makes it much easier for one or both people to completely disappear and never revisit the relationship again. Then, Maize shifts the tone of the conversation, and this change is easily one of the most revealing pieces of the entire exchange. While Cameron is unusually open and detailed when discussing his experiences with relationships, Maize takes a far more careful approach. He minimizes how much dating he actually experienced, almost sidestepping the question instead of giving the audience a long explanation. And that difference alone reveals something important about how these two men operate as public personalities. Cameron has created an image built heavily around jokes, openness, and almost theatrical confidence, giving the impression that there's practically no subject he refuses to discuss. Maize, considering his own personal history and the different phases of his public career, appears much more deliberate when it comes to exposing his private past. He isn't necessarily concealing anything, but you can clearly hear him measuring his words before giving them away. And that contrast deserves attention because it perfectly demonstrates how people who spend decades under public scrutiny can develop completely different methods of controlling what the audience gets to know about them. There isn't one universal formula for handling that pressure. Some people, like Cameron during this discussion, turn humor and exaggeration into a protective layer. If everyone is laughing at the wildest things you're saying, they may not notice the more personal truth hiding underneath the performance. Others, like Maize in this particular exchange, rely on minimal answers and controlled restraint. If you provide almost nothing, there's far less material for people to analyze, twist, or misinterpret afterward. Both approaches can be effective survival mechanisms after years of being watched, questioned, and judged in public. And realistically, most celebrities fall somewhere in the middle, changing their strategy depending on the interviewer, the subject, and the platform where the conversation is happening. So the next time you watch a celebrity interview, pay closer attention to what's happening beneath the actual answers. Ask yourself which strategy the person sitting in front of you is using. Are they flooding you with jokes and information so you never reach the uncomfortable questions underneath? Or are they giving you so little that there's almost nothing to analyze? Available to investigate in the first place? There's another detail here that deserves far more attention, and that's the conversation around communication, comprehension, and the uncomfortable reality that what one person says can be completely different from what another person believes they heard. It appears almost like a passing comment, but it may actually be one of the smartest observations in the entire discussion. So much relationship conflict, whether romantic, personal, or even professional, doesn't begin with someone deliberately trying to cause harm. It begins when two people interpret the same interaction in completely different ways. One person may genuinely believe they clearly explained the limits of the relationship. Meanwhile, the other person may have heard something entirely different because of the tone, circumstances, timing, or even their own expectations about where the relationship was going. Neither individual necessarily has to be lying or wrong about their personal experience, because the real problem often exists in the distance between what was intended and what was understood. And that gap is where an enormous amount of relationship drama begins. Psychologists and relationship experts have discussed this idea repeatedly, often through concepts involving attachment patterns, communication differences, and mismatched expectations. Some people communicate in a direct, straightforward way, saying exactly what they mean and assuming the other person will accept those words literally. Others communicate through hints, emotion, tone, and surrounding context, expecting the other person to understand what they're implying without everything being spelled out. When those two styles meet, especially inside an intimate relationship, the result can be exactly the kind of misunderstanding we're seeing here. One person leaves the conversation convinced that everything was obvious and understood. The other walks away completely shocked because the message they received was never the message the first person believed they were sending. So what's the real lesson underneath this entire conversation? To me, it's that fame doesn't magically rewrite the rules of human relationships. It simply places those relationships under a much brighter spotlight while making every mistake carry a much bigger price. Every issue raised in this discussion, the fear of being treated as disposable, the desire to remain friendly after a breakup, the disappointment when that friendship never materializes, the different ways partners communicate, and the way money or legal responsibilities can keep people connected, all of these things happen in ordinary people's lives too. The major difference is that when the people involved are famous, their private complications become public entertainment instead of remaining personal memories. And honestly, that may be exactly why unscripted conversations like this connect so strongly with audiences. At its core, it isn't really about celebrity gossip. It's about seeing something familiar in people who appear completely different from us. Watching two recognizable public figures struggle with the same confusing, emotional, sometimes messy relationship problems that regular people experience can actually be strangely reassuring. It reminds us that fame, money, and success don't protect anyone from the basic realities of loving someone, losing someone, misunderstanding someone, or realizing that you were misunderstood yourself. If this breakdown made you look at the conversation differently, take a second and apply the same perspective to your own relationships. Think about the people who stayed in contact after things ended and the people who vanished completely, and ask yourself what caused that difference. Then consider your own communication style. Do you bury vulnerability under endless explanations and details, or do you become quiet because keeping people out feels safer? Neither strategy automatically makes you right or wrong, but recognizing your default reaction can reveal a surprising amount about how you deal with conflict, emotional distance, and eventually finding closure. And that's where we'll leave today's breakdown. because clearly there can be far more happening beneath the surface of a seemingly casual conversation than most viewers realize at first. And that hidden layer is exactly why certain moments continue circulating and getting discussed long after the original episode has ended. If you enjoyed this breakdown, let me know in the comments which moment or detail from the conversation stood out to you the most.